Hey everybody, this is Dave at Polygon, and I'm going to show you how I beat the boss gauntlet on the dark side of the moon in Super Mario Odyssey. The first boss is actually in a lot of ways the toughest boss, at least it was for me. You have a couple of different options here. You could just throw Cappy at him in each phase to knock the hats off and then take him out. As long as you wait for him to do his spinning attack, you can just bounce directly off of his head and hurt him. It's not super difficult to avoid the hats, but what I'd like to do is basically get Mario's back up against a corner, which doesn't exist on a circle, I'm well aware, but basically back into a corner and throw Cappy if you think something's getting close or if you get bored, or just jump when something's coming close. Either way, when you're not fending off the hats, just wait for the pink circle to appear. When it does, jump up, because you don't want to get hit when he's slamming the hats down, and then just sort of float your way with moon gravity over him and land on him to win. There's a couple of things to do, a couple of different phases in this fight. The first one, it's super easy to avoid these bombs that she throws if you just run around her. And the only thing you actually have to worry about at all is jumping over what she's already thrown. As soon as she gets to the throw where she's going to actually, throw out the things that are attached to her pigtails, pivot at that moment and run toward her, otherwise you might miss them. But that's really the whole thing in all three of her phases. In this first phase, between those phases, you want to step into the middle because she always throws that pattern there. And then you just pick up where you left off, which is running around in a circle. All you got to do is jump to avoid the fire. And after she throws a couple, you're going to pivot as soon as she turns and then get the heck over there to throw Cappy at him. One thing to note is don't get too close to her when those bombs explode because they will hurt you too. The pattern for this second phase of, UFO bombs is different than the first, but honestly, there's nothing to avoiding them. If you think something's getting too close, jump, because you have that enormous floaty jump that you can control in the air. You can avoid anything she throws down. Shockingly, here in the third phase, we're doing the same thing as in the first and second phases, which is just running around in the second that she goes to bury those darn things in the ground. Pivot, throw. You might miss if you're that far away like we did, but just, again, wash, rinse, repeat, and you'll get her. The boss on the third floor is actually, I think, the easiest of the three because you don't really have to do much other than throw Cappy and jump on his head, which is the easiest to do at the very beginning. When he gets into this spinning hat mode, all you need to do is hang out near the wall, and if he gets close enough, throw Cappy at him to bounce him away. He's going to wind up eventually right back in the center, and you're just going to wash, rinse, and repeat what you did before. Throw Cappy at him, jump, land on his head, retreat to a corner, keep him away, because he always flies at you first, and then repeat the process for a third time. It's really not a big deal. Here we are up on the roof for the final phase of the gauntlet. And the first thing you need to do is get your butt over to one of these Hammer Brothers and take him over with Cappy. The trick to destroying the legs, which is what you're going to be doing a lot of, is not just sort of standing around and throwing, but wiggling your controller when you throw, because that actually lets the Hammer Brother throw a lot faster. You'll see that throughout the fight, but basically every phase is the same, where you're going to knock it down, climb up, throw some hammers, at some bubbles, and then repeat. There's often a little swerve like the one you're watching now where you have to sort of avoid something that's slightly different than last time, but it only lasts a few seconds, and as a hammer bro, I guess, you can jump out of the way pretty easily. The third phase is the one where you can sort of mess up like I did the first time. Which is while he's running, or while this giant machine is running, I guess, don't try and hit it. Just get the heck out of the way and let it run into walls, because you'll have an opportunity here in a moment to just go back to what you were doing before and throw a heck of a lot of hammers to take it down, like right about now. And as you can see, it takes, I don't know, a second and a half if you're waggling that remote while you throw the hammers to take it down. These are, for my money, the hardest ones to get. So we're going to do something a little different than we do in the other videos we've made, which is I'm just going to show you how it's done, and then we're going to step back and show you piece by piece. One thing to note, though, while you're watching the successful run is that I would suggest getting both of them at the same time. The first moon that you get from collecting that key up top is trivial to get once you get the second one. You know, you didn't come all this way just to get one moon, so you might as well collect them both. This one, and as you'll see in a second, as I run around to the back, the other one. So yeah, that's a successful run. Next up, we're going to slow it down, break it into sections, and show you how to do each. Okay, so there are basically two phases to this. The first is just getting across this area to the key in the distance. And because the second phase requires you to do so much jumping, my suggestion is to use the first phase as practice for the second phase. What do I mean by that? Well, let's replay that first phase, the top floor, as I think about it. But slow down a little. What you're doing here, although some of these jumps aren't necessary, is practicing your long jumping, which is holding ZL and then hitting jump. I did it there. I'm going to do it here again. And then we're going to learn something here, which is the jump right after that long jump gets you a little farther. And you're going to use that down below. Let's do that one more time. In this opening phase, obviously, you're just jumping up top. But here you're taking a shortcut and practicing your long jump right there. You're going to do another jump here, and then you're going to practice your long jump again because we're going to do this at the bottom. There's the long jump, then there's the jump here, and then there's a large gap that you couldn't cross if you weren't coming out with the speed from the long jump until you get to this key. All right, here we are on the other side of the key. The key, haha, to getting down is to just run off. Don't try and go slow because you may grab onto the ledge, and every millisecond counts here. When you land, the next thing you want to do is adjust your camera so that it's behind Mario. This is way slower than you'd like. It's certainly slower than I'd like. And the trick really is not to worry about super duper accurate camera placement, but rather just get it behind Mario so that you can make the first jump successfully. And there's two reasons for that. First of all, there's a giant bonsai bill behind you, so if you take too much time being precious about your camera placement, you're going to get hit. The second reason is, as long as you get that first jump in, the camera will eventually center itself behind Mario. So it'll take care of itself, but you have to line it up so that you have decent camera placement to make those first jumps. And now comes the really hard part, which is just a series of jumps. I'm showing it to you in full speed so that you can see what it looks like. You'll also note that I make, well, not perfect jumps every time, but that's good because it shows you can recover. There's a trick to figuring out how to time these and how to make these, and I'll show you that as we slow it down here. All right, half speed. First thing, long jump, which is holding ZL and then jumping. The next jump is just a regular jump. You're going to use a combination of regular jumps and long jumps throughout this. Remember when we were talking at the part above where right before you made the jump to get to the key, where Mario's speed after a long jump allows him to make longer jumps than normal without making a long jump? Well, that's what you're going to use here. So, long jump onto a very thin little platform, and then a jump after that, just a regular old jump, will increase Mario's speed when he lands so that when he jumps here, he can cross this gap, and he wouldn't be able to do that if he hadn't long jumped before. So the exact same principle applies at the bottom. A long jump into a regular jump, a long jump into a regular jump. There's right there, a second regular jump. As you can see, it's not quite enough distance to land on the platform, but it is enough distance to grab onto the platform, at which point you can just long jump into another regular jump and make it to the end. The ideal, honestly, is long jump, regular jump, long jump, regular jump. That's super hard, and you may not make it. So the whole reason I'm showing you a run where it isn't perfect is because I suspect very strongly that if you're anything like me, you won't have a perfect run. If you can do long jump into regular jump, super great. If you can't, just get up on top as fast as you can. You're going to outrun the bonsai bill and long jump into regular jump and repeat the pattern. All right, one more time. Long jump, regular jump, long jump, regular jump, regular jump, climb up on top, into long jump, regular jump, climb up on top, long jump. And make sure to stand in front of these blocks. Otherwise, the bonsai bill will follow you to the left or right and not destroy it, and you will be very, very sad. I know from experience. All right, here's the whole thing at full speed with just the highlights. Remember, you're going to use this first part to practice things like that, like your long jump, and landing on small platforms, using the jump after the long jump to get distance, run right off the edge so that Mario doesn't grab on, swing that camera around so that you can make your first jump, and then a series of long jumps and regular jumps, ideally alternating, but if you don't, you can always just climb back up and turn it into a long jump and a regular jump, climb back up, and get to the end.
Take me from.